Would you like a simple way to decide what you're going to work on each day? A very logical way to prioritize your personal and professional work so that you don't have a bunch of red overdue tasks? That is what we're covering today. If you're new here, I'm April Perry from LearnDoBecome.com, and I'm here to help you out of the overwhelm by creating simple systems so you can do what matters most. The basic overview is that hopefully in your personal and professional life, you have some strategic objectives, just general things that you're working towards, maybe some goals or outcomes that you want for the month or quarter or year. Well, those strategic objectives are supported by routines and projects, and a lot of people get them confused. So I'm going to explain how it can just feel really, really simple, and then you never feel stressed when you jump in and get to work. First, I just want to talk about the difference between a routine and a project because most people just treat them the same. A routine is something that you do over and over and over again. And a project is something that you do once and then it's completed. Now, often a routine starts as a project. So you're going to establish a system and then move it to routine mode. That way, when you set up your projects and routines, you're going to have a general idea of how they're going to work together. Now, what I'm talking about today is going to apply particularly to how you would do it in a business, but you can take the exact same process and apply it to your personal life. And if you're working with a team, everyone on the team can do the same thing. The reason why this matters is because most people, when they sit down to work, they just start tackling whatever is top of mind. Maybe whatever was covered in a meeting or whatever they just heard about that day or whatever they're just thinking about as they get into work. However, if you only work on what's top of mind, when do you actually do the things that matter most? Probably not very often, right? So I'm going to show you how you can use the structure of routines and projects to help you actually do the things that are going to move you toward your strategic objectives. Each person needs to have a routines list and a projects list. And you can create this either on paper or most people use some kind of a digital project manager like Asana or Monday, Trello, Basecamp. New ones come up all the time. But they all work with this general structure. So let's start with routines. When you create a routines list, you're then going to have daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. You can put each routine in there. What I would recommend is don't give them all calendar deadlines because then you're going to end up with all those red overdue tasks. Instead, if you're establishing a new routine, you can put that on your calendar to remind you to do it, but then you want to have just enough routines that it's keeping you moving, but they don't feel overwhelming. And you check that list at least once a week, make sure they're happening, and you just move forward getting the routines done. For a projects list, I recommend you create current, in progress or waiting, next in line, or someday. Now, it's really important that on your personal current list for a profession, you have no more than 3 projects. You want to have just a very simple list, and you know this is my focus for the month. And these are things that you can actually check off by the end of the month, know that they're done, and then you can move them down to completed. I get asked a lot, well, what if I'm working on a project and then I delegate it to someone else or I hire someone to help me with it and now it's in their court? Do I just keep it on my current list? Well, I'd recommend you then move that to the in progress or waiting and maybe add a calendar trigger for when you need to follow up. So that way it's not on your current list. You're not thinking about getting it done because you know it's being handled by another person, but you're going to follow up when it makes sense. The reason the next in line and someday works beautifully is because let's say you go to a conference or let's say some new ideas come up or you read a book and you think, oh, this is going to be great. You can't do everything right now, but what most people do is they just say, okay, I'll do that, and they end up with 50 projects on their current list, but then nothing gets done. Instead, when you go to that conference or read that book or get that idea, you ask, does this make sense to become one of my 3 current projects? Or is this next in line kind of towards the top? Or is this someday? That way, in your mind, you're able to prioritize and see exactly what matters, and you always know what your focus is. Another little pro tip is when you create your projects, there's usually a little place for a description or subtasks or things like that. In the description, I keep all relevant links. Things to maybe the bigger files or more information, or maybe there's images or PDFs or things that you need to put in there. You could also even break it down and put some of your subtasks so that it's ready for you. That way, even if it's in someday, when it's time for that someday project to become current, you have everything you need. And if you're working with a team or a partner, they can easily go in and see all the relevant information, and then you're not just going through all your digital clutter and trying to find the things that you need. And I know you know what I'm talking about. So let me just give an example of how something would start as a project and go to a routine. Let's say you have a company that wants to start doing a weekly newsletter. First, that needs to be a current project to establish the weekly newsletter routine. You might decide what you're going to use to send it, where you're going to house the emails, decide who's going to write it, what the content's going to be, what the purpose is, maybe some branding or something like that. And that's going to all be done as you work on your current projects. Then once all those things are completed, now that would move into the weekly routine. If it's you doing it, it's on your weekly routines list. If it is someone else doing it, obviously it's on theirs. But that way, each person who's working professionally knows what their projects are that they own. They know what their routines are that they own. And if you need to check up or consult with one another, you've just got the calendar triggers to help you do that. The reason I love this so much is because when you think about how you're going to start your day and you go into work, or maybe you sit at your desk, or you have a couple hours, whatever it is for your life, first of all, you just look at your calendar and see, okay, where are my meetings or appointments? And then during the open time, instead of just working on whatever's top of mind, you say, okay, what are my routines that I need to be doing today? And then what are the projects that I'm going to be working on? Those little next actions, step by step, to get them done. This makes it really simple for you and your family, the people you work with, to get the most important things done, to make sure routines don't slip through the cracks, and to have an easy way to then have your meetings and decide what's current, what are we doing? What's going to help us actually get to our strategic objectives? Hopefully this video has been helpful for you and you feel excited about doing the work that's most important. And if you want more information from us here at Learn, Do, Become, we have more videos here that we know you'll love, and we have a link in the description to our free training. Come join us. We're so glad you're here, and welcome to LearnDoBecome.com.